Hello and welcome back to my channel and to today's video where it is that time of year again and I'm preparing the house for my favourite season, autumn. I don't go crazy with autumnal decor, I just tend to refresh a few areas to reflect the seasonal change. First of all is the outdoor entrance area, which often gets a build-up of leaves from our boundary hedges, so this needs to be swept quite regularly. However, I do a more thorough sweep at the start of each season by removing the doormat and the rug that we have outside our front door. This way I can get into all of the little nooks and crannies around the door frame. Once the area is swept and I've brushed off the doormat and the outdoor rug, I can put those back into position before adding in our autumnal pots. I changed our summer lavender wreath over for our dried autumnal wreath that we had custom made by a local florist. This is actually the third year that we're getting out of this wreath and it's got so many more left, and this is the bonus of letting your real wreath dry out, then you can reuse it year after year if you store it properly. It's always around this time of year that we get our first delivery of logs for winter. It's a lengthy task, but it's always pretty satisfying to get them stacked in the log store that Simon and I made a couple of years ago. Whilst the logs are for burning in our log burner, I really love the look of having this store full of logs. It's just another indication that cozy season is upon us. But for now, we are stocked up and ready to go after our chimney sweep has made his annual visit in a couple of weeks' time. I recently bought a boot rack, which I think now officially means we are countryside folk. And I'm putting this outside our other external door, which leads into the utility room. We leave and enter via this door every day when taking the dogs out for their walk, so when we come back, our muddy wellies and smelly walking boots can now sit on the boot rack ready for the next day. I started putting seasonal wreaths on this door too earlier this year, so I'm switching over the spring-summer wreath for this autumnal one, which I made myself using a branch wooden woven base and then some dried gypsophilia. Inside the house, in our entryway, I like to change the contents of the vase on our console table. Last year I bought some dried and preserved autumnal flowers and branches, and they've all held up well in storage. So I'm swapping out the artificial blossom branches for these orange preserved Amaranthus Caudatus stems. And I'd forgotten how much I love these stems. The rich orange colour is perfect for the autumn season. Now, I haven't really changed the items on this console table over the past couple of years, so I'm just playing around with bits and pieces to restyle it slightly. And I like to be greeted with an autumnal scent when coming through the door, so I'm adding in a seasonal reed diffuser here as well. In our guest rooms, we have some elements which can be switched out depending on the season. Just small little touches like these artificial hydrangeas. I have these in a few different colours to suit each season, so I'm swapping out this lighter colour for a deeper burnt orange. And with them being artificial, I don't have to worry about them running out of water up here. I've shared this little tip before, but I like to keep seasonal prints in most of the frames that we have around the house. So for each season, I have a different print, and then when it comes to a seasonal refresh, like today, the other season's prints are already stored inside the frame for ease. I just need to select the right one, move it to the front, reattach the backboard, and then it's ready to go back on the wall. It's a really easy and cost-effective way to update a room's decor. We have all year round duvets in our guest rooms, but just to make it feel a little bit cozier, I sometimes like to add some additional layers. And it could be a cushion changeover, or in this case, I'm also adding a large throw blanket to the bed. Down in the kitchen, we have several vessels which have some kind of flowers or stems in, so I'm changing those over to some more autumn appropriate stems. In this vase on our long shelf above the sink, we had some artificial gypsophilia, but that's being swapped out for some burgundy hydrangeas. I have some preserved beech branches which I used for an autumnal dining table setup last year, which is also in a separate video that I'll link in the description box. And this year I'm using them here in this large vase in the corner of our countertops. The leaves are dyed a rich burgundy colour and they instantly bring a feeling of autumn, whilst this colour ties in with the colour of the hydrangeas in the smaller vase on the shelf. The rustic jug vessel on our island had some real but dried out gypsophilia in there, so I'm changing that over for some artificial deep brown gypsophilia stems. I also have artificial fruit in this basket because it avoids fruit flies and of course any spoiled or wasted produce. But as the season of the lemon is over, I'm swapping those out for some deep red apples, just again to bring another autumnal colour into the room. To make a bit more of a seasonal feature on the island, I'm also adding in this little ceramic pumpkin and a scented candle. I've popped some matches inside the pumpkin so that I can light the candle when I'm working at the island during the day, or if we're having a cosy night in front of the TV. Over in the TV area, I usually wash the sofa covers every season, but we only did this a couple of weeks ago whilst we had some nice warm weather. So I won't be doing that in today's video, but you can see the process in several other videos which are linked down below in the description box. I am, however, going to swap out some of the cushion covers. I have a little bit of an obsession with cushion covers. I like to collect them and I have a basket full of them in our linen cupboard. So I will change them out from time to time in various rooms around the house because again it's a really easy but effective way to bring a fresh look to a room and change the colours or tones slightly. And the same goes for blankets. Even if it's not cosy season, blankets can still add a certain seasonal look by changing out the colours and even the fabrics. So from neutral linen throws for layering in spring summer to thick wool rich blankets for autumn and winter. I have been thinking about giving this area a little bit of a style makeover as it's an area that's never really been fully finished. So when I get around to that, I'll be sure to film it as a separate project video. But we have already replaced our rug, which you may have seen disintegrating in the kitchen deep clean video that I shared back in July. Now on to the coffee table, which admittedly didn't really have any kind of styling to it throughout spring summer, but this season I wanted something that feels autumnal and cozy given that we spend a lot of time in this space. As this house is much larger than our previous house, it has taken me time, 3 years to be exact so far, to collect various different elements to style certain areas, and I will continue to collect pieces as and when I find them. It's a constant work in progress, but I'm also still discovering my interior style and taste when it comes to our new lifestyle here in the countryside. At first, our home was quite minimal with Scandinavian and mid-century style elements as a bit of a base, but over the last 3 years, it's also come to include some more rustic touches which reflect living in the countryside. And that's the beauty of interiors. You can mix different styles to suit you, your lifestyle, your taste, because after all, it's your home and you have to love what you're looking at day after day. Through in the dining area, I'm not really doing much, just swapping out the vase on the dining table, so swapping out those olive branches for a slightly more autumnal dried flower. As I mentioned earlier, last year I shared a full autumn table setting, but as Simon likes to work at the dining table now, I won't be setting it up permanently this year, but I'll leave a link to that video in the description box for anyone who wants to watch it. Over in the lounge, I added our autumnal cushion covers to the sofa to incorporate the various brown tones of the season. As I mentioned, we do have our chimney sweep scheduled to come in a couple of weeks to do a full service on our log burner and sweep the chimney, so fortunately we don't have to touch that. But over here in the space next to the fire, we did top up the logs from the earlier delivery. Just like outside, I love it when this area is full of logs because it makes the room feel more cosy even if the fire isn't lit. Above on the shelves in this alcove, I'm removing everything so that I can restyle them after giving them a dust. I like to play around with various pieces before styling the shelves, so I did spend a couple of hours mixing things up before then deciding on my final setup. I like to use various items for styling areas like shelves and coffee tables, including woven pieces like baskets, which can bring some warmth, prints in frames, which again I print via a service online, lots of coffee table books, stems and foliage, and I also like to mix in genuine antique pieces, whether it be pottery or a dough bowl like this, for example. LED candles are a great way to add a cosy touch to an area, and if you have close shelves like these, then using a real lit candle would be a hazard. These ones in particular are made of wax and also have an authentic candlelight flicker to them as they glow, so they look and feel like a real candle. And there we have it, the final area is done. We are now fully in autumn mode, and that includes the weather, which is feeling fresh and crisp, and I love it. Just a reminder that everything in today's video will be listed below in the description box, along with those other videos mentioned throughout. But for now, that is it from me today. Thank you as always for watching. Happy autumn, and I will see you next time.